If you read your bulletin, you see that it says Yeshua's crown out of John 19. The Gospel of John 19, verses 5 and 6. And we're going to use this scripture just as an introduction, and we're going to close with it, and that's when I'm going to go into it. But you need to have a foundation, and this is it. Verse number 5 says, Then Yeshua came outside wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilatus said to them, See the man. In Latin it's Hechihon. So when the chief Kohanim and the officers saw him, they shouted, saying, Impale, impale! Pilatus said to them, You take him and impale him. I find no guilt in him. Be seated, be seated, be seated. We're going to go over crown after crown after crown until you get to see exactly what's going on. Like I said, at the end, we're going to close this like only Yeshua knows how. Turn to 1 Corinthians 15. 1 Corinthians 9, I'm sorry. 1 Corinthians 9. Verses 24 and 25, when you're there, say Amen.
Amen.
Do you not know that those who run in a race indeed all run, but one receives the prize? Run in such a way as to obtain it. And everyone who completes controls himself in every way. Now they do it to receive a corruptible crown, but we for an incorruptible crown.
Amen.
How many of you know that you were born a little track star? You may not know it, but you are, because you're in a race. See, and this race does not end until you cross the finish line, because you're the only one running your race. You can't run my race for me. I can't run Xavier's race for him or anybody else. You have to get on that track and you have to run your race. You see, because there are many people who will run the Boston Marathon, the New York Marathon, the Marathon of Marathons, and the races of races just to get a corruptible crown. Now, let me tell you something that's very interesting. The word corruptible here means that it will vanish. In other words, it's going to fade away. It has no substance on which it can stand. And yet, how many of us look to get something from this world? How many people are running around trying to get an Oscar, a Tony, an Emmy, or whatever else they have, a Pulitzer Prize, and this a prize, and even a prize in a box of Cracker Jacks? Right. Everybody wants a prize. The only prize that you should be waiting for and looking for and hoping for is a prize waiting for you when you finish your race. See, most people don't want to run. I don't care, then drive. Just get to the finish line. The bottom line is you got to get on that track and you got to make sure that you cross the finish line, because waiting for you at the end of that finish line is an incorruptible crown. And it is eternal. And you must really know that. You have to know that. Now, go to chapter 15, the same 1 Corinthians. Flip a few pages over. You should all be there already. Now go to verse 53. May have to flip another page or two. For this corruptible has to put on incorruptible.
Yes.
And this mortal must put on immortality. Oh, come on now. You're not only going to finish that line. Listen, this is what's going to happen. You are going to leave your corruptible crown behind you, your corruptible lifestyle behind you, everything that was in this world behind you. And when you cross that finish line, you have just entered into eternity, where you now have a life that lasts forever and a crown that's incorruptible.
Amen.
But you got to get through that finish line. I didn't say that, he did. See, most of us want to run, then we want to get in a wheelchair and have somebody push us. That's not how it works. You're going to have to run this race on your own. And you're not going to be able to fake it. You're either going to be in the race or you're not going to be in the race. And let me tell you, you know how you know you're in this race? Because there's nobody to your left and there's nobody to your right. Why? Because the road is straight and narrow. But if you're running and you see people to your left and people to your right, you're running on a wide road that's going to lead you to destruction. Yeah. Yeah. And many be there that find it. You know how many people are sitting in churches today proclaiming to be saved, but they're really not? Yeah. They're in desperate need of salvation. Come on now. This is where we are today. And yet we have this beautiful, incorruptible crown waiting on the other side of the finish line.
Amen.
Amazingly, wonderfully prepared for you. Now, that's crown number 1. Crown number 2. And at the end, I'm going to give you 5 of them. At the end, guess what? They're all wrapped up into one crown. You only get one head in heaven, not 5. Now listen to this. Go to 1 Thessalonians, which is like the book back. Okay. Thessaloniki. Chapter 2. Verse 19. Chapter 2, verse 19. For what is our expectation, or joy, or crown of boasting? Is it not even you, before our Adon, Yahushua HaMashiach, and in his coming? Listen to me very carefully. There are many people in this world today who boast. Brother Cisco, do you have any idea how great I am? You have any idea that I'm the best there is at this game? What is your problem that you can't recognize this? You have issues, okay? There are many people out there, you know, how great I am, how great I'll be if I get stung by a bumblebee. No. There are many people who toot their own horn. This crown is a crown of boasting, but you're boasting about the one who's preparing your crown. Yes. You have the right to esteem him. You have the right to brag about him. Yes. You have the right to tell the world how great he is, because he is the great I am. Yes. Yes. But in order for you to do that, see, you got to get off that wide road and into the straight and narrow, which means you need to be saved.
Confirmation.
You need to be saved.
Yes.
That's just how it is. Now, let me go show you a little something in Galatians. Okay? Flip one book back again to Galatians. Galatiyin. Galatiyin, Galatians. Go to chapter 5. Verse 14. For the entire Torah is complete in one word, in this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? Now, do you know that it's in that love that you are able to boast about the one whose love really is? Okay? You can only do that when you take the time to boast about the one who died on the stake, whose love was given to you, so that you could love him and love others, that you may find yourself walking in a way and running a race that is established in his love, for his honor, for his glory, so that when it's all said and done and you cross the finish line, he will be there waiting to greet you. Oh man, I'm just opening the spirit. I'm opening the door for the Ruach to come in. That should have been a mighty amen. I didn't get one. Do you know what it's like when you're in that last mile and you begin to pump and to kick it and to pump and to kick it and to pump and to kick it, and you see the clock, and when you cross they give you a corruptible crown. But now you're in your last mile and you're pumping and you're kicking and you're bragging and you're boasting about the one who's waiting for you there. And when you cross, you're so exhausted you get to fall into his arms. Ooh, come on now. Can you think of a better place to fall into? You fall into his arms and he holds you and says, don't worry, I'm here. And I have a crown for you. Oh man, you guys have no idea how beautiful that is, but you will when you get there. You will when you get there. Okay? And it's really, really, really very interesting that we need to understand that the thing that we need to boast about is the stake. There's nothing else on this planet we need to boast about. Okay? So, if you will take the time to crucify yourself, then you don't have to worry about boasting about anything. And I want you to understand something. There are many out here who will do whatever they can to keep you from crossing that finish line.
Yeah. Concentration.
There are many out here who will keep you from crossing that finish line. And you need to make sure, that you become a hurdler. You know what a hurdler is? One who runs hurdles. Why? Because the enemy is going to throw obstacles in your way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And every time he does, you just shift gears into hurdle mode.
Yes.
Right over the hurdle. And you just keep going.
Yes.
You just keep going.
Confirmation.
You just keep going. Have you ever seen a deer in a 6-foot fence? It looks. Point. It's behind it. One quickly and it's over the top.
Yeah.
See, the enemy is going to do everything he can. He's going to throw as many obstacles as he can, as many trials as he can. He's going to try to hurt your back.
Yes.
At least with me, he did. Okay? And whatever else. But what we need to know is that no matter what, when, where, and how, nothing shall keep you from the love that's waiting for you at the finish line.
Yes.
Remember, we read the scripture. There's many things in this world, but what can actually keep you from the love that's waiting for you behind the finish line? The only thing that can keep you is you when you sit down in that wheelchair waiting for somebody to push you.
Yes.
Come on now. You're going to have to put on them shoes.
Yes.
And even if the treads wear out, run barefooted. But that's just how it is. Okay? Now, let's go to 2 Timothy.
Thank you, Lord.
If you're there, say Amen. Nobody there yet?
I mean,
2 Timothy chapter 4. Verses 7 and 8.
Me.
I have fought the good fight. How many of you know that on this race you may have to scrap a little?
All right. MMA.
You may have to scrap a little. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have finished the race. I have guarded the belief. For the rest, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness. Wow. A crown of righteousness, which the Adon, the righteous judge, shall give me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all those loving his appearance. How many of you know that everyone that's on this race is loving his appearance? Or should be? How many of you know that all of those that are in this race, like I said, may have to scrap a little? How many of you know that all of those that are in this race may sometimes need an encouraging word from you?
Yes.
How many of you know that those that are in this race may sometimes need you to go into your closet and pray?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're led to, you may have to feed them sometimes.
Yes.
Not only in the natural, but more importantly, in the supernatural.
Yes.
Especially if you see them in the race and there's still sin in their life. Oh, come on now. Oh, yeah. See, nobody wants to hear that stuff. Nobody wants to hear that stuff. Sin in my life? How dare you? Give me a break here. If anybody here says that you're not a sinner, the Father's not with you. That's just how it is. I didn't say it, he did. We all have sinned and fall short of the finish line.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. Why? Because we are established in his righteousness.
Yes.
And it's in that righteousness that you know how to run the right race.
Yes.
Oh, come on now. I'm getting all pumped up here. I'm about to jump out of my shirt. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the one who's running with you, in you.
I mean,
You are going to finish this race not because of you, but because of everything he has and continues to do for you.
I mean,
On a daily basis. I am lit up today. The enemy couldn't stop me from coming here today because the Father had already ordained this day so that you may be edified and he may be glorified, and I'm going to have fun.
yes.
That's just how it is. Now, you know that I don't tell you anything that I can't back up with the word. Go to 2 Corinthians. Just a couple of books back. If you're there, say Amen. Corinthians, chapter 5.
Me.
Verse 21. For he made him who knew no sin to be sin for us. See wood. For he made him. He is Yahuwah.
Yes.
And he made Yeshua, who knew no sin, to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of Elohim. Oh, come on now. There you have it right there.
Amen.
You are his right. You are the righteousness of Elohim. And that's the crown that's waiting for you at the finish line.
I mean,
You see, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. There's nothing that you're going to do in this life, whether it be for good or whether it be for evil, that you're not going to give an account of once you cross that finish line. I'm going to tell you something. The finish line is demarcated by 4 letters. D-E-A-D. When you cross the finish line, you dead. To be absent from the body is to be present with Elohim, and then the judgment. Okay? So while you're still alive, you're still running. The minute you go, and he goes, and takes your spirit back unto himself, your carcass back to the ground, and your soul, that's where you determine. Depending on how well you ran that race, whether you ran that race incorruptibly or whether you ran that race corruptibly, when you get to the end, that crown is waiting for you. And if you ran a corruptible race, or even tried to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, or you tried to hide yourself among the crowd, yeah, it's not going to happen, because when you get to the end, he's going to know who you are, and he's going to put his sheep at his right hand, and you're going to be one of the goats on the left.
I mean,
see, the thing is, and we don't want to hear stuff like this. I didn't say it, he did.
I mean,
I'm just a delivery boy.
yes.
Now, turn to the Epistle of James. Okay? Yaakov. James.
Me.
Now, this verse we've read before, but I'm going to read it again because it has a promise in it. Now, verse 12. You guys have read this before. One of my favorites. Baruch is the man who endures trials. How many of you know you're going to go through some trials in this race? For when he has been proved, how many of you know you're going to be proved in this race? He shall receive a crown of high. A crown of high. That's your crown of life. Okay? Which the Adon has promised. This is one of his promises to those who love him. Now ask yourself this question. Right here, right now. Do I love him? You don't have to answer, just ask it to yourself. And if you come up with yes as the answer, you better take a look at yourself. Because when you really, really, really love him is when you're reciprocating in his love. And most of us do love him. Why am I saying this? Because we can still love him some more. You understand what I'm saying? You can take it to a new level, a new intensity, a new emotional attachment, so to speak. Where now, he is your everything.
Amen.
When you've reached that point, you can tell me you love him. And guess what? You're looking at the man who's still trying to reach that point. I love him dearly, but I can love him some more.
Yes.
I want to reach the point where I eat, drink, sleep, breathe. Every heartbeat pumps his blood through me. Be able to walk and talk all that he is. To live for him and only him. Okay? Now, turn to Revelations 2:20. I'm going to show you another passage that says the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry, 2:10. Do not be afraid of what you're about to suffer. Do you see how there's a constant theme there that we're going to have some real tough time around here? Now we're talking about suffering. Do not be afraid of what you're about to suffer. See, The devil, oh, that's the guy who's coming against us. The devil is about to throw some of you into prison. How many of you know that if I get thrown into prison, I'm going to have a jailhouse ministry?
Yes.
They're going to get saved in there. In order to try you. And you shall have pleasure, or pressure, and you shall have pressure 10 days. Be trustworthy until death, and I shall give you a crown of, and I, Yeshua HaMashiach, in the oneness of Elohim, shall give you a crown of high. That doesn't get any plainer than that. But you have to cross the finish line. You have to cross the finish line, okay? Now, turn to the Gospel of John. Chapter 17. Verse 24. Verse 24. Father, I desire that those whom you have given me might be with me where I am, so that they see my esteem, which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. It is the desire of Elohim in the oneness of Yeshua and Yahuwah. They're speaking to each other. And he said, Father, I desire that those whom you have given me might be with me where I am. You have to cross the finish line and get to the Shamayim. I'm not saying this, he is. Okay? And the purpose of that is so that they see my esteem which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. Now, are you getting the logistics that this is really a crown of love? It has many components to it, but it's a crown of love. And can you imagine how beautiful it must be for you to stand before him and gaze on his esteem? I'd pass out. They'd have to pick me up. I'd be on the floor. It's just how it is. For me to find myself, and here's the funny part, he desires for me to be there. Sis, he desires for you to be there. And you too. As a pair. He desires. That's insane. You want me to do what? You want me to be where you ought to see your esteem? Really? That's exciting. He wants you to see what you have experienced throughout your life here in the love that the Father had for him, which allowed him to die for you so you could be there to see his esteem. Oh, am I the only one getting excited here today? No matter, I'm having fun. This is so exciting to take a look. I mean, it's like Yeshua HaMashiach. You want me to, oh my goodness. This is wonderful, you know? But you have to cross the finish line. Are you ready for this? In his righteousness. filled with his Ruach. You can always tell who's running the race. You can always tell who's running the race because they have him on their lips all the time. All the time. I'm telling you, there are people in this town who don't even ask me anymore how I am because every time they ask me, I tell them I'm blessed. And now I say blessed, but because you don't know, Baruch. And they look at you like, what? Yeah. Then you let them know that means blessed in the proper language, Hebrew, Aramaic. This, right here, you should all highlight that. And know that he desires you in his kingdom. He desires for you to be there. Go to the first epistle of John. Yochanan. John. Yochanan. Chapter 5. And let's go over verses 11 to 13. You're there, say amen. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us everlasting high. And this high is in his bane, who's waiting for you at the finish line. I just threw that in there.
Oh.
He who possesses the bane possesses high. Do you see how you cross the finish line with him? He who does not possess the bane of Yahuwah does not possess high. Many people are going to get to the finish line, but they're going to die twice. They're not going to have eternal life. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the bane of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess everlasting high, and so that you believe in the name of the bane of Yahuwah. See, you're going to believe in the one that's in you to help you get through everything in this life, because you're going to trust him, you're going to stand in his righteousness, you're going to live by the Ruah, you're going to read his word, you're going to fast, you're going to pray, you're going to obey, you're going to make sure that everything you do is in right standing with him, because if you don't, when you get to the finish line, he's going to give you a little G for goat. And you're going to stand at the left side, and when it's all said and done, you're going to spend eternity separated from him. Yet it's his desire that no matter what you do or what you're going through, that you repent and go on. Finish this race for his esteem.
Good.
Your life should be a living testament of who he is in you. Woo! This is a great message, I think.
Yeah.
If not for you, at least for me. This is what it's all about. We have to make sure it is absolutely wonderful. Wonderful. I mean, to think that Yahuwah himself gave us the everlasting high. And he disguised it like Yeshua HaMashiach. That's a great disguise. I like it. Listen, if you do not have him in your heart, today is going to be the day of your salvation if you want it to be. But do not get to the finish line without him. To get to the finish line without him means you're going to spend eternity without him.
Amen.
Okay? Now, So far, you have a nice, incorruptible crown that you can boast about in righteousness and high. You got to be careful when you say that, because somebody you say hi, they say hi to you. Hello, I'm talking about everlasting life. Okay, okay. I'm not saying hi, I'm saying hi. So just make sure, listen, people can mistake little things like this, you say hi and they think you're saying hi. So just beware of that. But listen, remember that you must remain trustworthy. Now what does that mean? What does that mean? It's really simple. It means that he can trust you. That's all it means. Okay, that he can trust you. When he tells you to do something, it gets done. When he tells you to say something, it gets said. Okay? You don't sit there and have a theological discussion with him. This is what this is all about.